Hello everyone, and as promised, I wanted to walk you through the AI podcast workflow that I was able to use to put together the last video that I shared on social media. So without further ado, I'll just walk you through my process. This may not be a very polished video, as I just want to get the gist of how things come together. All right, so first things first, I need a training topic. So let's go to my NRH. Just going to pick on the Navy Reserves for a second, but we're going to use things that are readily available to the public. So let's take a look for the at the Res Pers manual articles. How about that? So Res Pers man. Okay, let's find a random article. Here's let's look at the 1100-030. All right, so this one talks about the incentives for reserve officers. Okay, it's not too long, and let's download that. So I'll save that locally, save it to my downloads folder. All right, so the first thing I wanted to do was to ensure that this scanned PDF was actually text, editable text. So I'm using my Adobe to do scan OCR recognition, and I want to recognize text on all pages in this file. So just give Adobe Reader a chance. And actually, full disclosure, I'm using Adobe Pro right now. I have a subscription, and I find that it's just ideal to capture text. So now I have this PDF that was imaged, and now it's actually selectable text. Okay, so I'm actually going to just take all the text in this document just to keep it simple. With the Notebook LM, you can upload a PDF, but I want to just take the contents of this and paste it into a text file. So I'm going to use Notebook ++ here, and I'm going to paste all of that copy text just so it's just raw text. And that way you can actually go through and make corrections, because the OCR likely has certain characters that don't make sense. Like, for example, the signature here, right? It's kind of screwed up. You don't have to go, you don't have to do that. More than likely, the AI model will ignore it. But just for purposes of this demo, I'm just going to quickly scan through, see if there's anything glaring. All right, don't really see too much glaring, so let's save this file, save this text file. I go to my documents, and I actually have a Notebook LM folder that I've created just to keep things organized. So I'll just call this demo. And in there, I'm going to have this file, and I'll call it the article. Okay, so we got that out the way. We now have some material that we can feed to Notebook LM. All right, next step. The primary tool here is going to be Google's Notebook LM. Oh, looks like, there we go. So Google Notebook or Notebook LM.Google. We'll click on it. We'll select Try Notebook LM. I'm already signed in, and we'll create a new notebook. All right, so here's the part that where you can add various sources, things from your Google Drive, links to websites, YouTube videos, paste text, copy text. I'm just going to drag that file that we created. So in my Notebook LM, the demo, here's the article file that was created earlier. So I'll just take that and drag it in. Give it a second to load. And just like that, the Notebook LM is giving you a summary of that text. You can actually start typing and asking questions like, what is this article about? All right, it's going to use whatever language model is powering this. I believe it's Gemini. And you can see that it gives you a quick summary of the contents of that article. Okay, but the feature that I used for the podcast was this really neat section here in the studio. You'll see it says audio overview, deep dive conversation to hosts. Before you hit generate, it's really good to hit the customize, and that's what I did. At least I hit the customize, and you can tell it, hey, you can prompt it to guide the host as to what should they focus on. Now, I haven't read this article in detail. I know it's about medical officer bonuses. But rather than reinvent the wheel, why don't we go to another AI tool, like let's say ChatGPT, and let's tell ChatGPT to create the prompt for us with Notebook LM. So create a prompt that I can use for Notebook LM that discusses reserve medical officer bonuses. Keep it short and use terminology that an 8th grader. Seems like we like picking on 8th graders, so I'll stick with that. 8th grader can understand. No more than 500 characters for the prompt. All right, so rather than try to come up with a prompt of my own, I'm just going to use ChatGPT here to create the Notebook LM prompt. So we'll give it a second to think about it, and then I'll copy paste into Notebook LM. All right, so it looks like ChatGPT has given us a prompt. I'm going to copy that and go back to my notebook, and I'm going to use that as the prompt, and then I'll click generate. You'll see that the indicator, the activity indicator, says that the conversation is being generated, and this may take a few minutes. You can do other things while that's happening. You can go ahead and continue interacting with the notebook. I'll move myself out of the way. You'll see these other features. It provides a study guide for you, FAQ, a timeline. So let's check out these features while the audio overview is being created. So if I click the FAQ, all right, so here's the FAQ. Let's take a look. And just like that, you have a summary. Maybe you could use this on a website or a mobile app. Other things, study guides. Let's see what the study guides feature contains. It's generating. All right, so here's a study guide. So if you were preparing, just imagine if you had, a bibliography for an upcoming exam or some type of certification prep, you could literally upload all the study material and then have Notebook LM generate an actual study guide for you with an answer key below it. So for question 1, what is the purpose of the REST Postman article? And then the purpose is answered there. Okay, so just lots of great, neat features built in. All right, so it looks like the audio is still generating. We'll let it do its thing, and then I'll get back to you as soon as it's completed. All right, it looks like the podcast audio is completed. You can see the length of time. It's 9 minutes, 55 seconds. So let's take a listen and see what it came up with.
All right, so today we're going to try to figure out this whole military bonus thing. You know how the Navy tries to get doctors to join the reserves by offering them bonuses?
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah. So we've got this document straight from the Commander Navy Reserve Force called Reserve Officer Incentives.
All right, so it looks like it generated the podcast. With that, simply download that file. I'll save that as well to that demo area that we had, so you can see Navy Reserve Officer Incentive Programs.wave. So that's the format of the audio, which is really cool because then we can take that into an audio editing program and separate the different tracks. Okay, so since there are 2 speakers in this WAV file, let's do that. I'm going to use a free tool, a free audio editing tool, and it's called Audacity. So taking Audacity, wait until it loads. All right, I'll shrink it down so I can fit it into my window. Got it. All right, so here's the Audacity interface. This is not really a tutorial on this particular software, so I'm just going to take my audio file, the Navy Reserve bonus, drop it into Audacity, and you can see I have the entire length of the soundtrack here. So right now it's a single track, so if I play it...
All right, so today we're going to try to figure out that...
And the goal here is to actually separate the 2 speakers. So what I'll do is actually create a separate track, so add a new mono track, and we'll call this one, rename it to co-host. and then we'll rename this one to be the main host, so rename track, host. All right, so this process is going to take you a while to get used to, but essentially I'm listening to the track. So for example,
All right, so today we're going to try to figure out this whole military bonus thing. You know how the Navy tries to get doctors to join the reserves by offering them bonuses?
Sounds like a plan.
right, so where the female voice starts speaking, let's get to that section.
The reserves by offering them bonuses?
Sounds like a
So right here.
sounds like a plan.
So I'm going to cut that track right there, and I'm going to,
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah.
and then here's another cut. So right now you can see from what I've done so far in editing, there's a portion here.
By offering them bonuses?
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah.
So I'll take the voice that was the co-host, I'll drag it down to that track, and then,
Sounds like a plan.
so,
Yeah. So we've got this document straight from the Commander Navy Reserve Force called Reserve Officer Incentives.
Catchy title.
Right.
Catchy title.
Right. Non-healthcare professionals.
all right, so,
Catchy title.
Right.
so there's
Right.
we'll cut it there,
Officer incentives.
Catchy title.
also there. Take that voice, bring it down, and for the sake of this demo, we're going to keep it pretty short, so I won't go over 30 seconds.
Non-healthcare professionals. Right.
Male,
Non-healthcare.
all right, so this is the process of separating the track.
Non-healthcare professionals. But
Bear with me.
but even though it says that there's a whole section in here just for healthcare professionals.
Yeah, they snuck that in there.
Professionals.
Yeah, they snuck that.
Professionals.
Yeah, they snuck.
All right, so do one final cut, and the rest of the track will actually just delete because I wanted to, and you can go on, right? So it took me, this was probably the longest part of the process, and I'd say I spent a good 30 minutes just separating the track. But for now, I've got enough to work with in regards to, or regarding generating the actual AI avatars and having each one of them have their own voice track. So I'll export these two tracks once again to my demo. One thing I forgot to do was to tell it to make them, oh, I did multiple files, make sure my settings are correct, MP3. All right, so now I'll go back into my demo folder and I'll just save it there. And then I'll hit export. So you can see I've got two tracks being exported, the host and the co-host. Okay, so that's it. I'm actually done with Audacity, so I'll close that down. Let's see, within my demo folder, now you can see I have a co-host track and a host track. So let's listen to each one to make sure it's...
All right. So today we're going to try to figure out this whole military bonus.
All right, great. And also the co-host. There'll be silence until her speaking time.
Sounds like a plan.
All right, great. All right, so now I have the two audio tracks, and now I need a tool. Now, there are numerous avatar creating tools out there. I'm going to go to a tool called Hedra. So, there are all kinds of companies you can search online, but this one seems to yield good results that are close enough to reality, so I will create. Okay, so here's the interface. It lets you generate images. So for example, if I said create a person looking at the camera wearing headphones, and if I click create, you'll see that Hedra does a really decent job of generating a character. But once again, we'll go back to our other AI tools. So for example, ChatGPT, and we'll say, create me a prompt to make a realistic person in a podcast studio wearing headphones and smiling with their mouth closed. Okay, so we want, in order to have a really good start, you want a character that's looking directly at the camera, not off to the side, not some other angle. You want them looking directly at the camera. So here is the prompt that I received from ChatGPT. So let's go back to Hedra, and I'm going to use a higher quality model as well called Flux, and let's paste that prompt that I got from ChatGPT in there. Okay, so it created a female. We could use this character for the female host. However, if you notice, her head's slightly tilted, so let's try to recreate that again. Okay, here's a character that's smiling, mouth is open, but it may work. So because I think the head's like less tilted. So what I'll do now, since we have that person already generated, let's use the female track. So the co-host, if you recall, was female. So we'll take that and we'll upload it into the Hedra audio interface, where you can use MP3 waves, MP4s. So just going to use the co-host track. It's only 21 seconds long. You can do up to, I believe, 2 minutes and 30 seconds. And then we'll generate the video based on this track. And just to make sure it's the right track, see if I can drag this. You recall the female didn't have a lot to say in the first
Sounds
minute,
like a plan.
but she does say a couple things. Okay, so all right, so let's generate the video now based on the avatar and the audio file. Okay, it looks like the video was generated. Let's take a look and see the quality. You can see the characters blinking, the head's moving, waiting for her turn to speak.
Sounds like a plan.
All right, great. So we have the female character that's generated. So let's take a look at the options here, and I want to download
Catchy
this.
title.
So I'm going to download it to my notebook demo. I'm going to call it the female co-host. All right, so now we need to create a male character. So I will kind of use the same prompt from ChatGPT, but this time we'll specify, instead of an image of a person, an image of a male seated in a modern podcast studio. Let's create the character. Okay, looks like a male, really big smile on him. So let's try to generate that again. Seated in a modern podcast studio. Let's say smiling with mouth closed. Let's put another sentence of that in there, just so we can get the mouth. We don't want the teeth always exposed, so let's try to get the mouth a little bit more closed, but smiling. All right, let's go with this one. This is pretty straight shot. The smile's not too large, so we'll go ahead with this one, and I'm going to use the audio file. That was the host. All right, so it's 26 seconds, 27 seconds long, and let's go ahead and generate the video. All right, so the host is generated with the audio provided for the male host. So let's take a listen.
All right, so today we're going to try to figure out this whole military bonus
Pretty
thing.
cool.
You know how the Navy tries to get doctors to...
All right, so just like before, we'll download the video for the male. So we'll call it male host. Okay, so now that we've got everything that we need, we've got the audio, we've got the podcast dialogue between the host and the co-host. So now it's time to put all of these various tools that we've used to build this and put it together. All right, now that we've got all the components that we need to build the actual video podcast, I'm going to use another tool called Filmora, and I'll put the description and the link to where you can get this software in the video. So I'm going to load Filmora. It's just a video editing app, and we'll start a new project. Okay, so here's the interface for Filmora. Once again, this is not a tutorial on how to use this stuff, but first things, I'm going to actually add media to my project. So if you recall, I created a couple tracks. So one was the host and the co-host. So here's the female host and female co-host, male host. So we just drop those into here, so you can see I've got the two tracks, and I'm going to basically drop them into my list. So video one, drop it right there. I'm going to keep the project settings for now. I dropped them both, but I want them to run at the same time. So I'm going to actually take the female track and bring it up here. Okay, so you can see that it actually cut off the end, but that's fine for the purpose of this demo. When her speaking lines are done, that's when the actual video ends. There's settings that I should have done when I created it in the actual AI app, the AI software. There's steps that I should have done to make that video extend past the point when she was speaking. But just so you can see, here's the preview window of both of the virtual folks that we created. I'm going to shrink it down. We'll just put them side by side so you can see this, and then we'll hit play.
All right, so today we're going to try to figure out this whole military bonus thing. You know how the Navy tries to get doctors to join the reserves by offering them bonuses?
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah. So we've got this document straight from the Commander Navy Reserve Force called Reserve Officer Incentive
And that's something I noticed, that her voice was pretty loud there,
Bonuses.
Sounds like a plan.
right? So it's kind of overwhelming there. So let's take the audio levels, take down the dBs.
Sounds like a plan.
There we go.
Yeah. So we've got this document straight from the Commander Navy Reserve Force called Reserve Officer Incentives.
Catchy title.
Right. Non-healthcare professionals.
Okay, so that's the workflow, and of course I used the video editing software to add more effects, but just wanted to share with you the process as to what I used to kind of put together that video podcast that I shared yesterday, and I hope it was insightful. I hope that you can share this with your teams and perhaps find some use for it at your commands or work life. Okay, well, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.